one of the weapons he's using today. Another one I wrote down was the government. Right, it's 1 Peter 2. I'll read this verse 13. It says, "Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to a king or supreme, or into to governors," and that goes on, "as the servants of God." Uh, I'm not going to read that whole verse. And then obviously Matthew 22:19 through 21. I'll just read 21. He says, "Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's." Okay, so when it comes to the government, crazy, crazy things are happening today. Uh, some wild things actually. I don't even watch the TV anymore. I don't keep up with any of that. But we see from those verses that we obviously, okay, we should submit to authority, right? People in leadership, people in government, we should obviously we have to submit to laws and those things. But I did want to notice. I wrote this verse down in Acts 5. What the apostles say to this actually. Um, so this is coming off Acts 5. It's coming off the heels of. Here you go. Here's some good knowledge off the heels of Acts 4, uh, where Peter and John, excuse me, are in the street preaching, and they're grabbed out of the street. They're sat down in front of this council with all these leaders and rulers, and they basically tell them, "Hey, you got to stop preaching. You can't do that." So you get to Acts 5, verse 27. It says, "And when they had brought them, they set them before the council, and the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that ye should not teach in this name?" So that's what referring back to Acts 4 when they told him, "Hey, quit preaching Jesus. And behold, ye have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us." Okay, here's the notice what Peter says here. Then Peter, verse 29 of Acts 5, and the other apostles answered and said, "We ought to obey God rather than man." Right? So there's I'll read a key to this in a minute, but we ought to obey God rather than man. So yes, we are to submit to authority until that authority starts to get in the way of what God's called us to do. Right? We should obey. We obey laws. We obviously have to do that. But 2 Samuel 23 does say, "The rock of Israel speaking to me, he that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God." And I'd say our government today is gotten far away from ruling anything in the in the fear of God, right? But there is something we should be doing as Christians when it comes to our government. I mean, this is our government's gotten far away from God, and one of the things I believe Satan is using as a weapon today. But one of the things we should be doing as Christians is 1 Timothy 2. He says, "I exhort therefore," in verse 1, "that first of all supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men." Okay, so who's he talking about? For kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. So what should we do when our government and everything's going crazy up there in DC and all that garbage? Pray for our leaders, pray for the people in government, and honestly, we just got to understand that nothing down here is ever going to be peaceful until Jesus Christ is sitting on his throne, right? I think that's Isaiah 9. What's the verse? I think I got it here. Verse 7, "Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end." And that's talking about once he comes back after the tribulation, he comes back to this earth, sits on his throne, sets up his kingdom. That's the only time we're going to see peace, right? So this world's only going to keep getting crazier and crazier, and Satan's going to keep using all these things, seeking to destroy anyone he can, right? But we should still pray for our leaders, right? So here's the key thing I wrote down at the end of this one is we must submit to authority, right? It's something we should do. until that authority is trying to hinder God's will. And when they try to hinder those things, we need to pray for those things, right? We need to pray for people in